All right, so we're zooming to the Andes in South America. I gave a talk earlier this year in Lima and asked people, where's the water coming from in Lima? And a lot of people, river, extremely dry, we don't know, and so on. In essence, in the Andes, from two main sources. One, glaciers, eternal ice storing a lot of water. And if you remember the Andean chain, 7,000 kilometer long mountain chain, Peru hosts, I think, 70% of the world's tropical glaciers. Now, big problem, as we all know, these glaciers are disappearing. And so as a water security in the long term, decades from now, already being a problem today, but decades from now, this is going to be a serious problem. Second, our incredible nature. Forests and wetlands have this incredible capacity to all this, store water and between the soils and roots and biodiversity. It really creates habitats, really important habitats high up in the Andes. Now the problem here, the forests are mostly gone. There is 1 to 10% of the high Andean forest left across South America. Fortunately, there's people like Tino. Tino is a co-founder of Global Forest Generation. He's a co-founder of Acción Andina, which is the program we're leading together. And above all, he's one of the most amazing persons, friends, leaders that I'm honored to know. He has just been awarded the Champion of the Earth title this year for his lifelong leadership and commitment to saving forest with his people. And I couldn't be more happy and honored to working alongside him on his dream to restore Andean forests. Now, Tino in his life, he recognized two crucial things, in my opinion. One, forests are disappearing, but he knew he can bring them back. Reforestation, protecting forest, restoration. He combined 30 years of amazing underground expertise on how to do that. Second, more importantly maybe, he recognized that with his people, the high Andean people, mostly indigenous people, ex-Inca people, and pre-Inca culture, there is a principle called Aini and Minca, which a lot of indigenous communities around the globe share. And it's maybe what comes closest to reciprocity and communal service. That's how the Inca built their empire. Basically, a dedication of 50% of your time to the greater good, whether it's building the Inca empire or doing today reforestation or protecting forests. And he recognized he can tap into that. So when I met Tino in 2018, he invited us to come out to his project, have a look on how he's bringing people together to reforest the high Andes. I asked Tino, you have 30 years of amazing work, amazing experience. What's next for you? You have achieved amazing things. What's next for you? And this guy, again, very respectfully, was crazy enough to tell, well, I want to reforest the entire Andes. I want to protect the entire Andean forest. Again, 7,000 kilometers. How do you compute that in your brain? And Tino standing up there and saying, hey, that's my dream. I want to unite all my people to achieve that. That was the birth of Global Forest Generation. Why? We knew Tino couldn't do it alone. He knew he couldn't do it alone. We knew he couldn't do it alone. So we came together as the co-founders and other people and supporters and say, we're going to help you achieve that dream. We created Global Forest Generation as a vehicle, let's say, for bringing all the stuff together that Tino doesn't have access to, whether it's funding, technology, collective budgets, monitoring, all the stuff that on the ground and at the community level is quite often hard to conceptualize. And Global Forest Generation, building on Tino's mission, was always about responding to two things. We knew Tino has cracked the code. He's able to mobilize thousands and thousands of people to plant trees, to protect forests. But there's many, many efforts that are really, really scattered around the world. And if we are speaking about scale, it's going to be really hard to bring that up. Second, and that was quite a bit my personal journey, coming from visiting a lot of projects, how do we respond to the global call of needing to restore entire areas, entire regions, in order to respond to the climate and biodiversity crisis and so on. And Global Forest Generation, built again on Tino's dream, we focus on uniting people, organizations, leaders at the grassroots level across entire ecosystem ranges or entire regions, starting with the Andes and hopefully going to other areas of the world soon, and help them develop all the capacities that they need to grow and scale in the most responsible way, in the most high quality way. Again, I'm speaking, I think, to people who are engaged in that, so you know what I mean by that. So Acción Andina is a large-scale restoration initiative, a large-scale restoration partnership of high Andean people, communities, local leaders, local organizations. There's a lot of work going on reforestation. We've planted today with our partners over 6 million trees, which just started I forgot to say that, in 2018. So it's been quite a steep growth journey. There's a lot of forest protection going on, helping titling lands, helping creating protected areas, helping really protect, before you restore, protect what's still there. There's roughly 500,000 hectares left of these high Andean forests in South America. And so how do we go about this? We're working now in 5 out of 7 countries today in the Andes. We're working on, so the countries are Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina. Am I missing one? Anyway, working on Colombia and Venezuela to join the movement. We have a 20 landscape-wide restoration program with around 400 sites. We've just completed importing them and uploading them on Explorer.land. So we're quite happy right now to see how it all looks. I said that before, with 6 million native trees that have been reforested. The number that, to me, is the most important one here. This year, we have 18,000 people actively participating. I'm not talking about the benefit across the whole watershed and so on. I'm talking about actively participating in the program. And that, to me, is really responding to Tino's dream, right? How do we bring the people together based not on only on money and technology, but how do we find this deep cultural connection among those people and can create a movement across the Andes beyond a well-organized project that can deliver that scale. This is what 20 years of ecosystem restoration looks like. So the work started from a lot of the partners that joined, more than 20, 30 years ago. You can see ground cover, vegetation is coming back, biodiversity is coming back, soil protection, and water is flowing again in a lot of these watersheds that has been restored. This is to give you an idea of scale. To date, we have 20 restoration sites across South America. We're conducting a study right now to identify and prioritize main restoration site, priority restoration site across the entire Andean range. This is just South Peru. There's 56 sites just in the south of Peru. In order to achieve the 1 million hectares aspirational goal of Acción Andina, we're going to need hundreds and hundreds of projects, hundreds of sites. We're going to need to go from 150 communities today to thousands of communities and thousands of watersheds. Won't go into many details. Proven model, 20 years of really expertise that led to the building of Acción Andina. The last 4.5 years has been building a partnership, seed funding, incubating sort of the initiative. 2023 in July, we're hitting 5 years. We're really starting to look at how do we scale this significantly. And I'm very happy to have conversation with all of you. I mean, we're having passionate conversation on how do we invest in the local leaders, how do we replicate teams on the ground that are leading very locally these projects. I'm really happy to work across the range with many different types of partners. When we speak about scale, finance, technology, decentralized management, how do you manage such a large-scale initiative 18,000 people today. It's going to grow much more. Talked 2 months ago to Salesforce, who is one of our main supporters. And I was telling them, hey, give us 3 years, we'll be bigger than your company. We'll have, they think they have 76,000 employees. So how do you use that software to coordinate those efforts? I know I'm probably running out of time, so very, very quickly, blended finance. To us, blended finance is the key. I'm not dreaming here big, the carbon is going to all solve our problems and so on. I'm really looking, how do we make large-scale restoration work? And there is a philanthropic component. There's a lot of people who want to participate. Companies, people, individuals, foundations. How do we tap into the national funds that are there for delivering on climate, conservation, restoration priorities in the countries? Carbon will play a role. We're looking at the moment in developing our framework. And water investment. There's a lot of water funds in South America where we can tap into. And each of them giving a portion of what's needed to actually make this work. Skip through that. The number that I want to focus on, it used to, this slide was done 4 years ago when we started. And we kind of linearly projected, what will we need to achieve the 1 million hectare? And I looked at this $1 to $2 billion, very linear, unprofessional projection, just to give an idea of scale. And it scared the better part out of me. Today, when I hear about the conference, and I hear people talking about billions and trillions and all this is actually quite achievable, I would say. We need to now really develop the vehicles. We need to understand how we fit our worlds together. And there is more and more tools and opportunities around that. And I don't think we'll ever get bored in our generation in the next couple of decades to work on that and figure out how we make this a reality. Some of our supporters, I think that's it. What are we looking for? Broad philanthropy, catalytic funding to get the systems in place to scale. Technology partner. We're looking what does it mean to develop investable assets? What does it mean? How do you start? And we're starting to look at how do we replicate beyond the Andes. We're looking at the Himalayan mountain range as a sister project to the Andes. And we're looking at partnering with some of your organizations, maybe in other areas of the world. Thank you.